Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of What's Your Story? It's been quite a while since we've had anybody in the hot seat. And so as far as having a better person to get back into the hot seat and answer some questions for us, but our own Lyn Smith, who works upstairs here at the library. So she had a long commute today to come down. So welcome to our show, Lynn.
Thank you.
We are so happy to have you here.
I am happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So we usually start our show by asking our guest where you grew up.
Oh, I grew up in many places. I was born in Pennsylvania, but then I spent most of my schooling and early elementary years in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. And that was all through middle school, high school, and then off to college. So I would say Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Yeah.
And what brought you to this area?
Oh, that's a long story.
Well, we've got time.
You've got time. All right. Well, what brought me to this area? I'm going to go all the way back to probably when I was 6 or 7. And my parents used to rent a house at Wells Beach. So we would come up 1 week during the summer and then go back to Connecticut. And that went on for many years until they bought a house there, which was just wonderful. And I would have summer jobs in Ogunquit and at Wells Beach, and they were waitressing jobs, which I will never do again.
Not
but
easy,
it was
is
a
it?
good it was a good experience, but it wasn't easy, no. And then after college graduation, I came back to Maine because my husband, soon-to-be husband, and I were engaged. Mm-hmm. And we got married here in Maine, settled in Kennebunk for about 10 years. And we lived down by the wedding cake house. We bought a house on Summer Street. And time went along, and he was working in the Merchant Marines, and I was restoring this old house we were in. So we did that for about 10 years, and then took off for Connecticut. We had a 2-year-old at that point, Eric, and the grandparents were in Connecticut, and we wanted to be closer to them. Mm-hmm. So then as the story keeps...
Noble.
I know, and he was an only child, so it was important for us to have him close to family. So that was about 10 years in Connecticut, being married and raising Eric. Then we came back to Wells and had Eric finish his schooling in Wells, and at the same time, my parents moved back to Maine. They came to Maine and bought a house here in Kennebunkport, right across the street, which was so much fun. And then Eric went to UNE. My husband and I stayed in the area, and we've been here a long time in Wells.
And it is a beautiful area, isn't it?
It is.
We are so lucky.
We really are. Connecticut was fine growing up, and also for raising Eric till he was about 12. Mm-hmm. And then I remember him saying, when we moved up here, he said, "Mom, I'm so glad that you brought me here."
Oh,
I know, the smaller schools. He was so familiar having summers here, and that was just,
Now, does Eric still live in Maine?
He does. Thank you for asking. He lives in Saco.
Oh, okay.
And he is married and has 2 children.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So they're close to their grandparents
I
now.
know.
That's a nice little return.
It is. It's come full circle.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
So for birthdays and Christmas and things like that, when you have little ones, are books something that you would normally buy for them? Since you really are quite good at your job, I have to say.
Thank you, Mary Lou.
Picking books out and
yes, it is. Whenever I talk to my granddaughter Natalie, she is 6. And she said to me just recently, probably about a month ago, she said, "Mimi, you have to stop sending me books. My bookcase is overflowing." So
what a problem.
I know. That's what I told her. I said, "Well, Natalie, that's not, a problem to have." So I said, "Get your dad on the phone and we'll see if we can make you a bigger bookcase."
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yes,
that's
always
great.
sending them books. And she came to visit the library, just as an aside. I had Eric come by one Saturday when I was working.
Yeah.
And she herself, at the age of 6, loves to write and read. So
Yeah.
That's
So she must
warms
like
my heart.
she must like coming here knowing that there's such a connection and with your dad and
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
all
She
those-
knows that Pop is close by.
Yeah.
And she got upstairs and her eyes were just bigger than life and saying, "Oh, this is where Mimi works in the library." So
yeah.
yes.
So your dad was when I first started working here at the library, I think he was either just coming on our library board,
He was.
and he was so much fun to work with. And then he did they move to Pennsylvania?
New York.
Oh, New York. Okay, upstate New York.
Yes, exactly.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I
did.
just always got the biggest kick out of Roger Williams is his name, and I said that's just crazy knowing a real Roger Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I had no idea that he was your dad until not that long ago,
I
which
know.
is really kind of interesting.
Yes.
So I've known you for many years working here, and you
Absolutely.
at the school district.
Yes.
We used to be on a committee together, the Summertime Treasures, and we would meet with about 10. There were about 10 of us
I
that
think
would
so.
meet in a
Yes.
cold January day, and it was a lot about what was going to be on the menu. I remember. And we had to bring so many books with us and book talk them because we were putting together a really nice booklet for the summer reading for all the kids in
Right.
the area. But it was for me that not being able to get out of here much for that day was I always looked forward to that day and meeting with you all and hearing about
That's great.
things that were going on in the school system.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of the school system, so you were
I
working for
did.
RSU 21 for a while. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. I spent 10 years in RSU 21. Prior to coming to the school district, I was at the University of Southern Maine and really became involved, totally immersed in literacy. It was at the Muskie School, and it was a grant project of $8 million. So we were doing all kinds of work with the very littlest of the population in Maine at Head Starts for literacy.
Wonderful.
And it was a great experience, and one that unfortunately government monies do run out, and that grant was probably about 8 to 10 years and then ended. And during that time, I thought, where am I going to land next?
Right.
So I started putting out feelers and applications, and heard from RSU 21 and was hired as their literacy specialist, their reading specialist, which evolved into a coaching position, instructional strategist, working with curriculum, and I was at Kennebunk Elementary School and worked, well, it's now pre-K to 2, and at the time there was kindergarten through 3rd, and it was just a enriching job. I mean, I learned so much
Yep.
and met so many wonderful people and children, and was sad to leave, absolutely sad to leave, and I retired last June, so I've been here
Yep.
for 6 months, but I retired and I thought the timing is right. Things have changed with, unfortunately, our world with the virus that's
Yeah.
going around, and I thought it's time for someone else to take that ball and take the school and the literacy to a different level.
Yeah.
And then coming here,
And we got lucky.
so did I. And I think that landing here was just that wonderful extension to what I had been doing, but in a different way. I'm not here teaching children to read. I am here to enrich their reading experience
Yeah.
and to bond with the parents and have a different perspective that I didn't have being in the public school. I didn't have a lot of parent contact. So this is bringing me back to
Oh, yeah.
a number of years ago when I was doing more parent work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's great. And you know so many of the children in the district, so it's a real win-win
it's been
because
so fun.
they already trust you. And I think that's one of the
Yeah.
biggest things about this job. When children do come through this room and they go upstairs, there is something that they're looking for from us, and it's
true.
not just a good book. They are looking for somebody to be here, somebody that will remember their cat's name or what kind of books that they like. And I think you and
Absolutely.
Terry both do a phenomenal job.
you.
And
Thank you.
and you listen. to them, and I think that that's also really important.
Thank
But
you.
there is that trust, I think, that kids that they must have. I think
I would agree with you.
when they come to pick out materials.
It's a big deal
Yeah.
to come into a library. And I would agree with everything you've just said, Mary Lou. And I also think back to my experiences as a little one in the library, that every time we moved, it was the first thing my mother did
Yeah.
was take us to the library, and we got a card. And when children come upstairs, I think there's also a piece of magic to it, that when you go upstairs and you're not quite sure what book you want, or you know that it's in your classroom at school, you can't remember the author, and you look at the librarian and it's like magic. She makes it happen and finds it for you. And you can just see that
Yeah.
light go off in their face, like, this is the great. No one's demanding of me. They make it happen. They bring me this book that I can't wait to read and have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And
Is there a particular book, child, that you could tell us about that comes to mind, either here or maybe even at school when you were
Sure.
in the district?
I think I'll bring something back from here if I could. I know my work at the school was just enlightening when you see children learning to read and how exciting that is. And also the other end of things when it was not exciting to read.
Right.
And trying to support their reading in ways that are comfortable.
There's something
and,
about recreational reading.
yeah, there's a little difference. And I think of, and I know you know these children well, I'm thinking of 2 3-year-olds who are twins, and they come every 2 weeks, and they return anywhere from 25 to 35 picture books. Their stacks
Quite a stack.
are enormous, and their mom has 2 bags, and they use the elevator so everybody stays safe. But they come in and they hit the landing upstairs, and they'll say, "Hi, Miss Lynn, we want nonfiction." They're 3, and
gosh.
they're using such wonderful terms, because I think mom is also exposing them to that. We have this many picture books. You get 5 and you get 5, and now let's go in the nonfiction room. So in they go, and they come back out with books that are of their interest. Mom is just whatever interests them.
Yeah.
It can range from, I think, trucks and fire engines to ballet to drawing, and the list goes on. They have... I would say they're a reading house. They absolutely, they just love books, and they love to come in and see both Terry and myself.
That's great.
It's a wonderful experience when they come in, for sure.
That's great. And I love the traffic pattern that sort of evolved when we were reopening back in 2020 for the first time. And we had families coming through the down room and going upstairs to see you, and then they go through the back to leave, just because of the way the mandates were. But the opportunity to stop in and also see Terry, and they get to check a few things out through the, not books, but through the back, like the magical...
it's that terrarium that we have with the winter scene. Yes, I know, it's over I Spy.
Yeah.
The I Spy terrarium. I
great.
also think, too, Mary Lou, to add to that, it's when those little 3-year-olds, as you say, come up the chocolate stairs and start with me, and they're in the picture book room, and then they move through nonfic, and then into Terry's room where it's YA in high school, they're being exposed to older books. And that is just invaluable. I know, getting back to my granddaughter for a minute, I brought her a book on animal tracks. It was an older George Mason's book. And she said, "I feel like I'm in high school." And she tucks it under her arm and walks around the house with it, or takes it outside to look for tracks in the backyard. And I think the same thing for those boys. They're seeing not only that wonderful I Spy activity, interactive activity, or making a bookmark, but they're also seeing a wealth of just different books that someday they know they will be able to check out.
Right. So you do a wonderful job with Friday morning story time. And ever since you've been here, unfortunately, it's all been virtual.
Yes.
We haven't had any programs, inside programs for the children for quite a while. But I notice when I look through Facebook and I look through YouTube that you are getting a lot of people watching. And they're also stopping by the front porch to pick up the weekly craft
Hey, look at my smile.
that they can
It's so
start
good.
getting on Monday for Friday.
Yes, absolutely.
So okay, so take us through how do you pick the book, and how do you go,
That's a good question.
how do you do the craft that goes with it? And,
It's a process.
okay.
And one I didn't know that I would be doing.
Yeah.
I knew I would have story time, but you're right, Mary Lou, with the virus and not having our littlest ones vaccinated, it's still not a very good time to be face to face with those little guys. And so jumping in to do virtual story reading was, I can do this. This will be great. And I've learned a lot along the way. and I think back to even being in RSU 21. We were doing a lot of remote learning when I was still there too. Still a different situation. And so getting back to answering your question, I found that I was choosing books for the absolute love of the book. When you're virtual and you are reading to children, you almost have to think about more logistics, the size of the book, how it frames when you're moving it in and out of the camera, not just this gorgeous big, picture book that would just be fabulous in person. It doesn't work. So that has taken me a little bit of time to negotiate.
Yeah.
And I also found that finding a craft that would start simple, I'm thinking back to July and August and September for the littlest ones. And then as time has gone on, I've been receiving feedback from parents saying, oh, they're now doing their craft independently.
Great. Oh.
Woohoo. And I was like, that's great. So now the crafts are evolving with a little bit more difficulty.
Okay.
So that they can have more parts and pieces and spend some time. Parents have said that they've stopped the video so that the child can have this picture of me with the craft.
That's great.
They've replayed the story numerous times
Yeah.
so that they can hear and be part of an interactive situation. For example, the one that airs on Friday is a headband that goes along with the story that I'll be reading, and they can pretend they're skiing down a slope.
Oh, I think I know the book.
One of my favorites. It's one of my favorites, but I won't give it away. So I think that in developing the crafts, I start by going online, or it's something I've just thought up. I look through the book and see what comes to me, thinking again of the audience.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be quite a range of age.
Yeah.
And so that also, with a degree of difficulty, has been a good thing and a challenging thing. But always keeping in mind, too, that I so want these children to have this experience because they're not having it in person.
Right.
And then to have them, which is what is happening, evolve to be independent creators.
Yeah.
And it's their work and their creation. So however they
Right.
choose to
And then
work
they
it.
sometimes will send you a photograph
They
of
do.
what they made, which is always so rewarding.
It's wonderful
to see.
It really is. It's wonderful. And then there's the face that comes up the stairs and says, "Do you have any more of the craft?"
Oh, yeah.
And I'm madly running out. I can make you a kit really quickly. Oh, that's all right. We'll
Yes,
wait
we
for
can.
next
That's
week.
great.
So that's been wonderful. Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
it's fantastic. And I love your
Thank you.
other program, Lyn Likes.
Oh, yes.
So
Yes.
that's a monthly.
It is. It evolved from both you and Terry asking if I would do something virtually one time a month, and we've called it Lyn Likes. And I have done poetry and alphabet books. I've done an author study, and this, I think the newest one is coming up will be about counting books.
Oh, great.
And be able to talk a little bit about why I like this particular concept or book or format, and then do a couple of read alouds.
Yeah, and I think that's really great for parents too, to just see the variety. It's not just the same author, but just either some kind of a theme or concept, and then you're bringing
Absolutely.
that through the different, because there's how many alphabet books are there out there, but they're not the same.
There's such a range. And then something, when I get into those alphabet books, I'm like, how did they do Q and X and
Yeah.
the sounds? And some of them are, so terrific.
Yeah.
And others
A little
are
stretched.
I think so too. And others are just fabulous.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot of fun to pull those books together and think about how to present this particular concept, I think, to families and even children. If they happen to be sitting there, they'll get a read aloud and some, more talk about this particular type of book.
And we can always have people check the website for when it's going to air, or
Yes,
it's
you
usually
do
a
great
Tuesday
job
or a
with that.
Thursday. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Been trying
And
to
the
keep
newsletter.
it that third week
Yeah.
of the month,
Yeah.
Tuesday or Thursday, and you've done a great job with putting it in the weekly, I think, or the website, I think it is.
Yep.
Has it? Yes, absolutely.
So you have another love, and that is the love of writing.
I know.
So we have 2 books that are written by Lynn here, and I just love both of them. And if you could describe a little bit of your process and what it was like to work with a Maine illustrator.
Sure, absolutely. I can take you back. I'll start with this one. I'm just thinking. This was my first story,
Yeah.
Porcupine's Promenade. And it was developed when I was in grad school. So I took a writing course for children at the University of Southern Maine, and the instructor liked my book dummy. And she said, "You should get this published." And I went, "No way. This is just a little book dummy." And so she said, "No, really, you really should pursue this." And I thought, okay, whatever. So I tried. I got an editor and I kind of worked it through. And then it was in 2008 when the economy just crashed. It was just not a good time to be doing much of anything. So this is Priscilla, and Priscilla went back on the bookshelf for a while. And people kept saying, "What are you doing with the porcupine?" I don't know. She's still sitting on the shelf. So it turns
Poor
out...
Priscilla.
I know, poor Priscilla. She was really stuck there for a while. And it turns out, just by chance, I opened up my weekly Sentinel at the Wells newspaper that comes out.
Yeah.
And a man by the name of Mort Mather had published at Maine Authors Publishing in Thomaston, Maine.
Yep.
And I thought, what is this indie publishing? I don't know, a
Yeah.
lot about this. So to make a long story short, I pursued what that was all about and did find Jamie Hogan, the illustrator. This is a true story. It was based on a snowshoe walk that my husband took and came across a porcupine den. So he took these series of photos, and then when I eventually connected with Jamie through the publisher,
Yeah.
she took those photos and created the illustrations
And they're just lovely.
for the story. Yes, it was quite, I did not know her. And since then, we have become very good friends and have supported each other's writing and illustrating.
Yeah.
She will often send, or ask if she can come down for the weekend, and shares her latest book dummy.
Oh, that's great.
And it's a wonderful
Yep.
give and take
Yep.
between us, not only professionally, but also with our friendship.
Yeah.
So that's how that one evolved.
And then you went on to writing.
So this
Next
is interesting.
one.
This was interesting. After Priscilla, I think she was published, it was 2016. And it was shortly thereafter that people started saying, "When's your next one coming out?" And as a writer, you just go, "Oh my word." I just did this. This was like a labor of love and so much time. And, people don't realize that. So you just kind of go, well, okay, soon maybe. So I was sitting with a friend on the Eastern Prom in Portland, someone Kirsten Cappy. And so she said to me, "I think you need another one."
Yeah.
And in this story, there's a little boy named Bailey who goes for a snowshoe walk. And she said, "I think another book that has Bailey in it would be wonderful."
Yeah.
Okay. So she's not looking at her phone, and I'm talking to her about marketing for this one, how I'm going to get the book out there.
Yeah.
And she said, "Have you been reading all about the news about ticks in the Bangor Daily News?" And I said, "No, what are you talking about?" So she said, "Well, it looks like possums will eat thousands of them in a day and will naturally be helping our environment.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I said, oh, I said, I have an idea. And she said, I figured you would. So that's how What Makes an Opossum Tick developed, by a conversation sitting on a bench in the Eastern Prom of Portland. This one also, because I felt strongly that because it had Bailey in it, I wanted Jamie Hogan to also illustrate. That they do go together in my mind. And so that's how we got started on developing the illustrations for this story. And then ultimately, I submitted this book to the Moonbeam Awards out in, I want to say Michigan, but maybe it's Minnesota, for indie published books. And it won a silver award for environmental issues.
That's great.
You just never know.
Yeah.
You're sitting there on a bench and it's a windy day and all of a sudden you've got a book idea and you're off and going.
Yeah, that's great. And I call a book, or these books, I call books like these the total package. Because you've got a wonderful story, you've got information about something that is true.
Yes.
You've got wonderful artwork, a main author, a main illustrator, and now a little
I know.
award on there. I shouldn't say little, that's big. But
Well,
but
thank
these, books like these are really important because this isn't really just for the 4-year-old sitting on the lap with mom or dad or
No.
grandma. This can be taught on many levels too.
Yes.
So,
I love that you brought that up because I probably wouldn't have thought of it. This story right here has been profiled often at the Center for Wildlife in Cape
great.
Nettic.
Yeah.
It was a story that they just latched onto and said, not only is it a picture book, but it is about a real porcupine. It's a real story and doesn't anthropomorphize the animal.
right.
And and I've done many events for them down there with this book. And also with the possum, it's really helping build awareness for young people to know that the animals in your backyard are worthy.
Yes.
They are absolutely worthy and do bring us so much in our environment for being helpful. This animal here has been around since right after the dinosaurs. I mean, that's millions of years. And there's a reason that has happened.
Yeah.
And to not be paying attention to our environment can be detrimental to all of us. So that was also a piece of my writing.
Yeah.
To really look at who's showing up in your backyard and how to make that come alive for young children. So getting back to your point, Mary Lou, about it's not only for a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old, but this book right here has landed in the curriculum, the science curriculum at Kennebunk Elementary.
Oh, that's great.
So it does have a life that tends to be a bit broader than just that picture book with getting snuggly and cozy.
Wow.
A few more messages there.
So, complete package.
Wonderful.
And
Thank you.
I know you're probably not going to like me asking this question, but
Oh, go ahead.
working on another?
Yes, I am.
Oh, yay!
Aren't you funny? As a matter of fact, it came from a day that I was here. And you very graciously have, in this very room that we're sitting, was the book launch for the Porcupine.
Yeah.
And upstairs in the community room,
Right.
we had the launch for What Makes an Opossum Tick. And I remember sitting at the very long, elaborate table signing books.
Right.
And I remember you came over to me and you said, Lynn, I have an idea for your next book. And I was signing going, what? Right now, Mary Lou, I'm signing books. It's okay, tell me what. And you said, look, and you showed me your phone, and it was a picture of an ermine.
That's right.
So ermine is submission ready.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yes, ermine is submission ready. I've been working with a writing group and a critique partner. And
That's
she
great.
has been launched, I believe, probably to Michigan, Massachusetts, Maine. I've got
Okay.
quite a few publishers that I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Me too, then.
And I will let you know. So, yes.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Ermine has developed. And ermine, got put on the back shelf for a little while. Life got very hectic with retirement and starting something new here last summer. But she reemerged in the fall with a really intense, wonderful critique partner.
Yeah, I need to come out.
I know. I think she was trying to tell me something.
That's good. That's good. Well, we can't wait for that, and we will have a book launch for that.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I will look forward to that.
So, are you ready for some rapid fire questions?
I think so.
Okay, these are really hard. Do you have a favorite color?
Yes, blue.
Blue. A favorite book? This one gets everyone.
Oh my gosh.
You could have two.
I could have two. Oh my gosh. I think, yes, I just read it, as a matter of fact. I've had favorites throughout the years, but very quickly it's West with Giraffes.
Oh, okay.
Fabulous book. Fabulous.
Favorite vacation spot?
Oh, my house, Wells Beach.
I love it.
I know that's not very imaginative.
No, that's great.
Oh, I don't like to go anywhere. Our
sometimes
summers
we're never home, and so when we are,
absolutely.
we like to be there. That's
Our
great.
summers are so short, and I just adore where I live.
Good for you.
So, thank you.
Favorite restaurant? And it doesn't have to be local.
It's actually Joshua's.
Okay.
In Wells.
What do you get when you go there?
Oh, it's been a little while because of our closures and things, but
That's a
it's
great
usually
restaurant.
something that is fresh for the day.
Yeah.
Or a fish dish. I love fish.
Do you have a favorite wine or a favorite cocktail?
Oh, goodness. The Bee's Knees.
Bee's
At
Knees.
the Old Village Inn.
Okay. What a great name.
I thought so too.
How about a favorite thing to do locally? So if you were trying to get somebody came upstairs and said, we're in town for the week. What could we do around here?
Oh my gosh, I was thinking, my mind went immediately to the Marginal Way in Agunquit.
Okay.
Which is walking the Marginal
Yeah.
Way. Because I was thinking
Perfect.
here you go down to Kennebunk Beach and
Yeah.
just walk
Yeah.
all along. It's just so beautiful.
But
down
Marginal
there.
Way is
It's so special.
Yeah.
It really
It
is. We're so
really-
fortunate to have so much at our disposal to be
Yeah.
outside and enjoying what we
Spectacular.
have.
Final question, favorite library?
Oh, here. Look at my face. Louis T. Graves.
That always gets everybody.
I'm sure.
I think we've had maybe one person say a different library, and that was just to get me going.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. And it was the first thing that popped into my head. Aren't you supposed to do that when you get these questions? That first thing that pops in. Of course,
Yes,
here.
yes.
Absolutely.
Well, Lynn, it's been a pleasure talking with you
Thank you.
tonight, and I learned a lot more about you, and looking forward
you.
to learning even more as we work together, and looking forward to that next book that comes out.
Hopefully another one soon. Here.
So yes, so that'll be great. So stay tuned, everyone, for that. Thank you all for being with us tonight, and hopefully you'll join us for the next episode. So over and out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.